All right. Welcome to the Humble Travel Show. I'm going to be your host, Nick Eliseos, where we're going to interview Rob Greenfield, who has cycled over 4,000 miles within 60 days, has lived off of the grid, has eaten more insects than I will in my whole entire life, is a member of the 1% for the planet, super great guy, down to earth, and I'm really fortunate to have him along today. So welcome aboard, Rob.
Cool. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm sitting at my friend's house in New York City, and I did just bike here from San Francisco. It actually took 80 days though. 80 days on the dot.
Wow. Yeah, last night I got the privilege of watching. I think you have about 50 videos on YouTube right now.
Yeah, I put a bunch on there. A lot of those are things that are clips that are going to be part of the documentary Off the Grid Across America. But I just put some things on there that have some educational aspects to them.
Okay. For those who are listening and they just stumbled upon your website or your profile, could you give them a little bit about how you got started with this adventure? Like what inspired you to just travel across the state?
Well, so I started Greenfield Adventures. My website's greenfieldadventures.org, and I started it with the mission to entertain, educate, inspire, and give back. So everything I do it with the purpose of doing those four things. Entertain people because I like to entertain people, and it's a great way to give messages out. People don't want preaching, and they don't want to sit and just learn something. But if they can be entertained and learn something at the same time, that's perfect. Like, that's why I watch documentaries, because they're entertaining and educational.
Right.
So entertain, educate, and I just teach people simple things, mostly right now, that they can do to help the environment. Inspire, just do things that are reasonably crazy, that inspire people to do things that are maybe reasonably crazy, maybe a little less crazy, or maybe just simple things like inspiring people to live a life.
Rob, your mic went out.
Oh.
It's back.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So entertain, educate, inspire, and give back. Everything I do, I try to, not just do things for myself. I can't say I'm selfless in any way. Everything I do benefits myself as well, and but everything I do, I try to have benefit other people too. Mm-hmm. So when I do things, I think, how will this affect and benefit me, the people around me, and the earth? And so right now, with this trip, I'm raising different nonprofits that are doing great things for the environment, and just in general, giving back by inspiring and teaching people to live a life that's better for themselves and for the planet. So, so this trip began kind of on a whim, I guess. I came up with the idea last November, as I was sitting in a tent with 5 friends back in San Diego. We were just sitting there like playing around with the didgeridoo, and it's a little meditation tent, and came up with the idea of biking across America on Walmart bicycles, actually. So I was going to bike every 100 miles. I was going to go to a new Walmart, return the bike I had, and get a new one, and use their 90-day return policy to bike across the country for free on their bikes, and then return the last one in like South Carolina when I ended. But anyway, the idea to bike across the country held, but the objectives changed, and it became more of an environmental idea. And I was in Hawaii, hanging out with some people, talking about the trip, and then every day I just came up with these new ideas, like using as little water as possible, using as little electricity as possible, eating local organic food. And then I realized, oh, okay, I'm actually doing this off the grid, and that's where Off the Grid Across America came from.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. And what gave you that inspiration to just do it? I think a lot of people who are going to come across this adventure of yours are just really thankful that you're the person who's doing it. And I know for myself, like stepping out of being a U.S. citizen and just starting to travel Mexico and just going for it, there's a real mental challenge for saying, all right, that's it. Like, I'm just going to travel and I'm going to do this.
Yep. Yeah, you're totally right. And there's a lot of reasons that people have to fear getting out of their comfort zone and just doing it. And one is money. A lot of people are scared about that. I guess another one is safety. People are scared of the unknown. And the thing is, for me, the only way to know is to just go out and do it. So I'll tell you, America is a very safe place. I've been to 47 states, and on this trip I've biked through maybe 15, and America is a very nice, friendly place. You can go almost anywhere in this country and be just fine. And one thing I've learned is that good creates more good. So if you're out there doing good things, yeah, you know, something bad can happen. But in general, people want to do good things for you if you're doing good things for other people. And so I've found just go out there and do it. And hey, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to end up back in wherever you live, whether it's San Diego or whatever. You can't even call it a failure if you don't get exactly done what you want to get done, because you still did something and you gained experience. And then the other thing is money, and a lot of people are limited by money, but it's really you don't need money to live in this world, but you can choose to need money. And so me personally on this trip, I have a bicycle. So once you have the bicycle, transportation's free. You know, it costs like $10 to get a new inner tube in your tire, and that's the most common problem. If you need work on your car, it's usually going to, you know, cost a couple $100. So to cross the country on a bicycle, maintenance-wise to the bike, might have cost me a couple $100. So almost nothing. And eating local organic food. And then on this trip, I've been eating a lot of food that's going to go to waste, which is all free. And there's so many resources in this country, like woofing, which is organic farms, and then couch surfing.
Right.
If you're biking, there's warmshowers.org. You've got Craigslist. So this world and this country has so many resources, so many free resources, and if you're giving to others, they give back to you. And it's just a matter of stepping out of your comfort zone, and anyone can do it. It's, you know, I was once a small town kid in Wisconsin that wanted to get the heck out of there. The first time I did, I took a Greyhound bus from Ashland to Florida. It was a 48-hour bus ride, and I went down there by myself when I was 16, and that was my first big adventure.
Nice.
And I just did it. You know, you just gotta go out and do it. Maybe start small and get used to it.
Right.
That's all you can really do is just do it, and then whatever happens, happens. You don't have to plan. You just go out and you just do it.
Yeah. I think a part of that, there really has to be some type of blind faith to just go out there and do something and trust that everything's going to be okay. And I know it sounds easy to just be like, yeah, I'm going to go out and do this, and I trust it'll be all right. But that's really what it takes as far as like getting over that mental block, is just saying, yeah, all right, I know I'm going to be all right.
Yep, totally. And another thing is, if you simplify your life and have less stuff to worry about, it makes it easier to do this. So if you've got a dog, and you've got a house, and you've got a lawn to take care of, and you've got a job, and you've got all these possessions like a car, leaving that on an adventure is going to be a challenge, because then you've got all this stuff back there. But if you keep life simple and you don't have tons of possessions and all these things that are dependent upon you, it's a lot easier, because then you're your body, and right. Your body is wherever you are.
Yeah.
And then it's easy, because what you are, where you are, and it doesn't matter where you are.
That was deep. But I totally understand what you're saying, yeah. So one of the things that I thought that was really interesting so far about your journey is the amount of trash that you haven't produced. I think for 60 days, maybe it might have been under 6 pounds.
Trash-wise, would you like to see my bag of trash?
You have it with you?
Yeah, I can grab it.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Okay, so
that's wild.
This is trash from 82 days, but some of this is actually, so I've created 1 pound of trash, maybe 1.5 pounds of trash now in 82 days, so close to 3 months. And then recycling-wise, I've created 5 pounds. So you were right about the 6 pounds, but 5 of that's actually recyclable, which I consider waste because it takes a lot of energy to produce the stuff and then turn it into something else. So it still does waste, but it's obviously much better than trash. But I won't dig through this right now, but actually about size-wise, about 1/4 to 1/2 this is recyclables that are mixed in there right now from the last 3 weeks. So, but nonetheless, actually a little less than this is how much trash I've created. And
it's amazing.
Actually, I'll be honest, it hasn't been too challenging for me personally.
Right. So, I mean, one, it's amazing that that's your trash for the time that you've been doing this. Could you talk a little bit about the statistics for the average household?
Well, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, but the statistics that I've heard is that the average American produces 4.5 pounds of trash per day, and I've produced 1 pound in 3 months. So I'm producing 360 times less trash than the average American off these quick numbers. And I'll say, I mean, when I'm at home in San Diego, I create trash too. One way to create trash is food waste. And on this, I compost all of my food. And if you compost your food, it's no longer trash. Of course you don't want to waste food, but when you compost it, you're turning it into something that's going to make something else.
Right.
You turn it into a food source for vegetables that become food, or you feed it to chickens that make eggs that you eat. So it's a cycle, and there's not really waste so much. So with this, obviously food, I compost all of that, and then recyclables, I recycle all that. And then another statistic is that the average household uses 150 gallons of water per day.
Mm-hmm.
And on this trip, I have used close to 100 gallons. So 3 months, again, I've used less water in 3 months than the average household uses in 1 day.
And I would think that's from not taking like showers and using the toilet.
Yep. So what I'm doing with water is I am drinking it, and I keep track of the amount that I drink. And then to bathe, I bathe in lakes, rivers, and streams, and they're all over the country.
Right.
The other thing is when it's raining, I go out there and I use the rain. I bring my I have Dr. Bronner's soap, which is biodegradable and sustainably made, and I go out in the rain and I shower off in the rain, and that's where I get my all the 100 gallons of water that I've used are all from lakes, rivers, streams, wells, and rain as well. Or even like yesterday, I'm here in New York City. Yesterday, my water came from a leaky fire hydrant. So my friend Greg called me and told me that there was a leaky fire hydrant a couple blocks from his house. So I went over there. Sure enough, this water was just going to go down the drain. It was completely going to go to waste. And instead, I'm using it to drink. And today I'm going to go over there if it's still leaking and wash my clothes in it.
Nice.
It's just I've been finding resources of getting water that don't have a negative impact on the environment at all. And actually, I measured how much water is coming out of there simply by filling up a gallon jug and timing how long it took to fill it up. And that fire hydrant with its leak that most of people would walk past and just be kind of like, oh, it's just a little leak, is it's wasting 720 gallons of water per day.
Wow.
And if you think about what the average American needs, it's 8 cups, or human, 8 cups of water is what they say. That's a half gallon.
Okay.
So this is wasting 720 gallons. That's a 1,400 days of drinking water for one human. That's 4 years. So every day that fire hydrant is wasting a 4-year supply of drinking water for one human.
That's really outrageous.
It is outrageous, but you wouldn't notice. You just see it as a leak, and then you think, wow, someone could have drank for 4 years off of what was dumped down the drain today.
Yeah. And that really, it sounds like it comes down to just being mindful. And I think I'm at fault of that for sure, for just seeing something like a dripping faucet and not recognizing, like, that's a lot of water to be dripping. And something I really want to talk about, there was a video I saw where you're sitting outside and you're probably about 100 yards away from a dumpster, and you've got a load of food with you, and you're ecstatic. Do you know what I'm talking about? And you're just going off on, like, all this fresh vegetables and organic food that you found in the dumpster. And it started blowing my mind, where it was just like, wow, what a waste. And it kind of got me angry that there was this much food that was inside the dumpster. Because a lot of the work that I'm doing here in Mexico and through my journey is to go to orphanages and help them out. And one of the things that I notice is that they're lacking in resources of food.
Yeah.
And I saw this and I just got I really got passionate about it. I was like, why is this happening?
Well, I'm glad that happened, because that's the reason I put it there, so that I can, that people can become conscious of the waste. And yes, there's a gigantic waste, and I've experienced it firsthand. The statistic that I heard recently that was on a TED Talk is that in America, we throw away $165 billion worth of food each year. 30% of the food that we produce ends up in the dumpster. So if you think about that, a lot of people are talking about how expensive food is and how they can't afford good food. Well, food is a business, and businesses incorporate waste into their business plan. So if we know that 30% of the food is going to go to waste, that means it's probably 30% more expensive, because they have to cover that waste. So not only is it a waste of resources, but it's also an added cost to people for something that shouldn't be happening. But you can't blame it on the businesses either, because the average American also throws away 30% of what they're eating. So it's us too. But basically, I have crossed the country, and probably 60 to 70% of the food that I have eaten on this entire trip has been from the dumpster. I did some calculations the other day, and on average, I ate 3 pounds of food every day from the garbage. I think I've eaten 250 pounds of garbage from the dumpster on this trip. And that doesn't actually seem like a ton to me, but it's a fair amount. And a lot of it's fruit, vegetables. A lot of it's extremely healthy food. I go in there, and I get to go shopping in the dumpster, only it's free. I get to pick what I want. It's not like sometimes I have to eat what I can find. There's certain days that have been pretty bad. But there's a lot of times when I can say, today I want bread, and I want kale, and I want apples, and I go get that, and it's not too hard. There's just so much waste. I mean, there's days when I open a dumpster. There was one day, I opened a dumpster, and there was over 200 watermelons in it. Like, we could have had a watermelon party.
A feast.
Yeah. And it's all, if you keep your wits about you, it's safe. You just take the stuff that's, basically, there's so much food in the dumpster that you can take food that's only surrounded by food that's never even touched the dumpster. So
wow.
You can grab the loaves of bread that have only touched loaves of bread that just came off the shelf. And so if it spends a tiny bit of time in a dumpster, but it's not even touching the sides of the dumpster or anything. It's not getting that dirty.
Right.
So the idea of this trip is that I wanted to eat 100% locally grown organic food, because that's what I support. I support food that comes from where I am. And I support food it doesn't have to be certified or anything like that. I just want my food to grow naturally and not have chemicals that are unneeded on it. So the idea was to eat all local organic food, but it's been challenging to find that in many parts of the country. And part of that's the season. I traveled in the spring, and so growing season hadn't started yet. But part of that is that it's hard to find in first places. Now, I will say I'm very excited about how much of it there is all over the country, but it's much easier if you live there and you know that markets are on Wednesdays and you can go. But for someone who's just biking through town, who doesn't have the time necessarily to learn everything about the town or just be there when the local food is available, it's different. So it's been very hard for me, but I do have a very positive outlook on it being doable for most people in most places if they make the conscious effort to do so.
Nice. And let's get into that. What are some of the ways that we can make a practical change on a daily basis? And I'd like to talk about people who are in a household and they're in a location, and then for those who are traveling, because for me, I'd really like to learn how to be more mindful while I'm traveling and how to compost while I'm traveling. So what do you have that's practical?
Okay, so should we talk about households first a bit and
then
traveling?
Yeah.
Okay. So households, there's 100 or 1,000 ways you can reduce your consumption now that don't cost any money and don't really take any, they don't, it's just something you can do now. It's very easy stuff. So, one of the very simple things that you can do is it's all about consciousness as well. So one thing you can do is reduce your electricity consumption. Not only is it good for the environment, but you're also going to save yourself money, because every bit of electricity you use costs you money, which means you have to work. So if you have light bulbs on, like a lot of people will leave a light on all night out front of their house. Mm-hmm. So it's on for 8 hours. Well, you're working for that 8 hours because you're paying for that with your work. And the less money you need, the less you have to work. So that's kind of simple. But so simple things like turning off lights when they're not being used, not using hot water when you could be using cold water. Hot water takes a lot of water to heat. So I wash my dishes and rinse my dishes for sure with cold water if possible. Not taking really hot showers. Like other times I'll take cold showers because it's going to use a lot less electricity. A big thing that takes a little bit of money is changing your light bulbs to CFL bulbs.
What kind of bulbs are those?
Those are the coily looking ones.
Okay.
So they use 4 times less electricity, which means your bill for your lighting will be 4 times less money. And every time, think about it this way. Every time you turn on a light, if you turn on 4 of those, that's the same as turning on 1 incandescent bulb, which is the regular round bulbs.
Okay.
So if you replace those bulbs in your house, or if you replace incandescent with CFL bulbs, you can reduce your electricity usage by 75% in one day. And that's easy. Those bulbs cost $3 or $4 a piece. And the great thing is, it's also an instant money saver. So if you buy a bulb for $4 and use it for an average of 3 hours a day, you'll make your money back that year and start making money. So it's actually a positive investment. And besides that, it's great for the environment. Why use more when you don't need to?
Yeah. So for those who are listening and want to take action right now, they could actually go to the store of a Walmart or anything that's local and buy one of those spiral light bulbs and just switch out all the light bulbs that they have in their house, and they'll start saving money.
Saving money, saving energy, electricity today, right now, very simple. And again, it's an investment that will pay you back in a short amount of time. If you're in San Diego and you want free light bulbs, come to my house and I give them away to anybody who wants them. It's one of the things that I do.
Nice.
So those are some simple things. Composting is another thing you can do in the house. You can reduce, when you compost, you reduce trash from going to landfill, which means less space in those landfills. It takes petroleum for trucks to come pick up those trash cans. Then it takes energy to process that stuff, and it's just a very energy-consumptive process. So, but if you
maybe for those who are listening might not know what a compost is, so could we break that down?
Okay, compost is very simple. You take your food scraps, not so much meat, because meat can attract rodents and such. So mostly vegetable, fruit scraps, bread, grains, eggshells, basically almost anything but meat and dairy. And you can get that in there if you want. But anyway, you take that stuff, and there's a handful of different ways you do it, but food breaks down naturally. Just like when leaves fall off a tree, they break down eventually. It's the same exact concept with food. It breaks down. So if you have space, you can have a compost pile out back where the stuff breaks down. You can also do more urban composting ways. And what I do is I use an effective microorganism called bokashi, and I have a 55-gallon drum, and I put my food in there. I sprinkle the bokashi in there with it, which breaks down the food faster. And after that, the greatest thing is not only did the stuff not go to waste, but now you have a finished product, which is a very highly nutrient-dense soil that you put in your garden that will grow plants. Mm-hmm. Or you can give it to someone else to do it or something like that. But not only is it not sending stuff to the landfill, but you're also making a great product out of it. So you can look up composting, but it's very simple. Just have a bucket in your kitchen for food waste, and then something out back where you put it in for it to break down.
Okay.
So that's another thing that's very simple. Riding a bike rather than a car or walking. Huge. Okay. I sold my car last year, and my life is infinitely better. I bought my car in 2008, new. It was and then I sold it in 2012. So I had it for 4 years. Great running car. I didn't have much maintenance issues or anything like that. Even with it being a great running car, I was spending $7,000 a year on it, including gasoline. So that includes insurance, maintenance, registration, car washes, which I can't believe I used to wash my car. And then what else? Oh, just little things like, I had a chipped windshield once that had to be replaced. So all of that cost about $3,000 or $4,000, and then gas cost $3,000 or $4,000. So add those two together, and it was $7,000 a year. Now think about what you can do with $7,000 in a year. You could do a trip around the entire world and see 30 countries or more I know people who have done that for $4,000.
Yeah.
$5,000. So you can own a car for a year, or you can see the entire world. Or you can own a car for a year or eat amazing, organic, awesome food every day for the year. Or you could give that $7,000 to people that are going to create a better earth. There's so many things you could do with that. So when I realized that, I sold my car, I got a sweet bike, and I use in San Diego Car2Go. It's car2go.com, and it's a car sharing system. They're electric cars. When I need a car, I get one, and then the great thing is I have a car when I need one, and I don't when I don't. And there's you just pay by the mile. And then the other thing is if I'm saving $7,000 a year, it means that if I need a rental car, I can get one.
Right.
Because I have the budget now. So if I want to go somewhere like on a trip, I can just rent a car, and I'm still spending way less than I would have had I had a car. And you just change your lifestyle. You start to bike more. You start to stay more local. I stopped going to big chain places like Walmart that were farther away and just started buying stuff that was in my community. And it changes the way you live, and it simplifies your life. I'm so happy that I don't have a car.
I'm there with you. And for those who are listening, I think this is a big one because a lot of people will use the blame game of saying, oh, I don't have enough money and I'd love to travel around the world or just take a small trip. And I think if we just, dump the car for the weekend, that would still allow us to save a lot of money.
Yeah.
So those who are listening, I give them that challenge to be a bike warrior for the weekend and not use their car.
Yeah, just try it out. Start slowly. Like, that's what I kind of did is I phased it out. So when I decided I wasn't going to use it anymore, I didn't sell it for like 2 months, and I kind of phased it out, and it worked. But it's a lot of people say they don't have money for things. They say they don't have money to eat healthy. They say they don't have money to travel. It's not that you don't have the money. It's that you're choosing to spend the money in other places. So if you say that you don't have the money to eat healthy, but you spend $50 a weekend at the bar, and a lot of people I know spend much more than that on a night out. It sounds like my friends on average will spend about $50 in a night at the bar. Well, do that 4 times in a month. You've spent $200. I can eat good food.
Right, yeah.
$250. So sacrifice those 4 nights at the bar and eat healthy every day. Same thing with eating out. My meals, I eat at home almost all of my meals, and I create delicious, nutritious stuff. And my meals usually cost around $2 to $3 a piece because I'm using whole foods, bulk foods, and $2 to $3 when you go up to a restaurant and you spend $10 to $20. We're talking about that meal being 5 to 10 times more expensive than the meal at home. So it's all about where you allocate your money towards. And another thing I'd like to say is rent.
Okay.
So if you want to go travel, you can use websites like Craigslist or Airbnb. That's airbnb.com, and rent out your place. And I rent out my room for $700 a month when I'm gone. That's enough to cover an entire month of traveling for me. So I can actually travel for free just by renting out my room back home. And a lot of people are tied down by rent. A couple of things you can do is be okay with a simpler place that doesn't cost so much, or bring more people into the place. In America, I think I don't know the statistics, but it's like 300 square feet per person when we only need 150. So we're living in these places that are so big that we don't need that much space. And you can live with more people and have more freedom by doing that. So those are some simple ways to be able to have money to travel, like reducing your expenses. I always have money to travel because I don't spend a lot on things at home that I don't need.
That's a great sentence. I always have money to travel.
There's never been a time in the last 5-6 years when I've wanted to go somewhere and I have said, I can't go there because of money, because I make it happen. It's just what I do.
All right, nice. Let's do a little recap for those who are listening. So some of the ways that we can save money and help the environment would be to use less hot water, to be mindful of how much water we're using, to switch out our light bulbs from the incandescent ones to the spiral green bulbs.
Yep. Or even better, you could get LED, which are a little more expensive, but are actually 10 times more efficient than incandescent. I meant efficient. I don't know if I said inefficient. LEDs are more expensive, but they're even better than CFLs. I don't have LEDs, I'll be honest. But,
okay. Composting is another way, and then riding a bicycle maybe once or twice out of the week.
Biking and walking. And if you're in San Diego and you don't have a bicycle, I will help you get that as well. I have 10 bicycles at my house. I created a community bike program. I had 20 bikes. I gave 10 of them away to people. It's called Green Rides, and I have bikes at my house for anybody to use anytime.
Nice. in the show notes, I'm going to put a link to your website so people could get in contact with you.
Okay, sure, yep. That's greenfieldadventures.org.
All right, so we're coming to the end, and is there a big message that you want to send to the people who are seeing this right now?
One of the greatest things I've learned over the last maybe years that good creates more good and smiles create more smiles. And if you go out there and do what you want to see, you will see what you want. By being a positive human being, you're going to attract positive human beings. And it's that simple. If you're doing great things for other people and for the earth, other people are going to want to do great things for you. There's nothing in the United States right now that I couldn't have by someone doing it for me. And it's because I do stuff for other people. The goodness of people is just amazing. And so good creates good, smiles create smiles, and there's this thing I always heard people say in the past where, love is the answer, and that only love can overtake hate. And I always thought it was kind of, I don't know, hippie-ish, I guess. But I realized you can't fight hatred with hatred, but you can fight hatred with love. And love and happiness is contagious. There's no way around it. I'm an extremely happy dude, and the people around me become more happy by being around me. I've seen it time and time again. So the other thing is to create a happier, healthier earth, you have to start with yourself and be happy and healthy yourself. So a happy you is the best thing you can do.
Nice. All right, you heard it here at the Humble Travel Show. Thank you, Rob, so much for taking the time to just talk about what it is that you're doing. It's been a great insight into being more sustainable, and I appreciate the journey that you're on, and safe travels.
Thank you, and you can count on me to continue living a lifestyle that's good for the earth, myself, and the people around me.
Absolutely. All right, brother, take it easy.